Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre here. I am with Rafael from Formex. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for having us.
Of course, my pleasure. So I like to set the stage here because Formex is, I would argue, in terms of being an independent brand, having the capabilities that you have at your price, you could argue is unmatched. But I want to really set the foundation for what we're going to be looking at, which is the entire collection. But I'm with the man who can tell me more about the brand as well. So older brand than what many are probably expecting, and more capable than what many probably are expecting. So can you give us an introduction first to Formex foundation, and then a little bit more about the company?
Yeah, definitely. So Formex was actually founded in the year 2000, so it's not that young of a brand.
Yeah.
We're approaching 25 years next year. And it was founded by two industry professionals in Biel, in Switzerland. And they were both very passionate about cars, so car buffs, racing, motorsports, motorcycles. And that's why they founded the brand around the theme of motorsports. That's why they invented the case suspension system that we can show you guys on the Essence models. So they started as a traditional distribution watch brand. Then after the crisis in 2008, they never really got rolling again in terms of bringing out new models. A lot of the retailers also didn't make it through that crisis. So yeah, the distribution network kind of collapsed on itself a little bit. And one of the founders who stayed on kind of started working on other projects. And that's how we met, actually, because I grew up in the watch industry, you could say, because my dad founded a company in 1985 that manufactures, so develops, designs and manufactures components for different watch brands. That's how I learned product development, and this is how I got in touch with one of the founders, Mr. Gretel. And he kind of wanted to pass on the torch and didn't want to let the brand go completely to sleep. And so I accepted the challenge and then took over the brand, and then slowly hired my best friend Marcus for marketing. So we were two at the time. And yeah, that's how we got it going. So we kind of added our industry inside perspective to the brand. And what I knew, what I learned during my years working in product development for other brands, and kind of added that touch to a brand that was very high octane and very motorsports inspired. So we also tried to add a couple of elements of elegance to the models. So most of them are pretty sporty, but you'll still find an elegant side to them.
And what I'd like to really try to stress here is that your family's company, Dexel, right? That's the name of it.
Yes.
So you have all of this manufacturing capability under one roof, and Formex gets the benefit of what you're doing for a lot of larger names in the industry, going up to really luxury brands, and you can deploy that in watches that starting at prices just over $1,000,
Yes.
Which that's what makes this very compelling. I would say the watch that first kicked things off for my awareness of the brand was the Essence. So can you walk us through the Essence?
Well, it literally kicked things off because we did a Kickstarter with it. So we decided to get funding by the customers or by future customers. Formex was known for doing pretty chunky, hefty watches. So the name actually comes from the two words, French words, forme extrême, which stands for extreme shape. I don't know if you've ever Googled older models, but we had a lot of bullhead,
Yes.
like inclination chronographs. We're talking about diameters anywhere beyond 45, 46 millimeters. We didn't want to shock the existing customers too much, so we came out with the 43 millimeter Essence, which was already back then pretty much looked like it looks today, except for the logo that we changed, but we never changed anything on the design since we launched it in late 2018. Mm-hmm. So you see the 4 screws
Yes.
when you look down on it. And the 4 screws actually have a function. So they each house a spring vertically, and it works kind of like a car suspension system. It was patented as a shock absorber, which it does also, but we're really noticing on the wrist that when you actually move your wrist, you will find that the suspension gives and makes it more comfortable to wear.
So when you're wearing it on your wrist, what I've noticed too is, you say you're bending your wrist, it'll push the back of the case back up, so you have that relief throughout the day. So say you're swelling, it's actually a pretty novel concept. And then you're deploying a lot of this function and with the cases, but also the bracelets. I mean, this is amazing finished bracelet right here.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the things you said is that we get to implement things we use for other brands, but actually it's mostly the other way around. So my dad's still very active in the company. He's going on 70 this year, and he's always been an inventor at heart and in his mind. So he just keeps coming up with new concepts, new micro adjustments, new systems for quick releases. And a lot of the times we're the first ones to use them and to bring them to market, which also gives visibility to the system. So, he started doing micro adjustments in deploying clasps in 2010, I think we had the first system. And it was just too early for most of the brands to see the necessity for it, to adopt it. We get to benefit from his inventiveness, and obviously now being 70 years old, we built a team at Dexel that's kind of carries on the same spirit. So for a company of about 120 people, which Dexel currently has, we have a pretty large engineering team. So it's mostly a proactive engineering approach. So we don't, usually a supplier waits for the brands to ask them for something they need, but my dad has always been the one actually pushing concepts, patenting systems, and going out to the brands and offering them to the brands he thought they were best fitting.
For the Essence, just some rundown on some of the specifications. You're looking at the 39mm case. Talk a little bit more about the movements, what you're doing there, and then just some of the other features too.
Yeah, so this is the 39mm version. Originally it came out in 43. It still exists in that size. I think generally I'd say it wears a bit smaller than what you would read on the paper, which can be a challenge since we're mostly selling online. So it's always good when people can try it on. And the movement we use for this is a Sellita SW200, but it's in the highest specification you can get it. So it has a very nice perlage finish on the bridges. We use heat-treated blued screws. We manufacture the rotor ourselves because I wanted to get a skeletonized rotor to show the beautifully finished movement. The rotor as well has heat blued screws, and they're all chronometer certified. So any watch from our collection, except for the Field, which is our entry-level model, has a chronometer certification.
Wow. And then water resistance, you're getting that there too?
100 meters for the Essence collection, yeah.
And then you have a lot of standard, traditional, line pattern dials that you do, but then you'll also get into more of these daring type of dial effects as well. So you want to maybe look at a couple of these. You have a malachite and a really special one here too.
Yeah. So the dials is something that is very close to my heart as well. We also have a dial company called Cadran Nord, where we manufacture dials also mostly for higher end brands. And even the standard Essence dial, the horizontal lines are usually, if you want to be very efficient, you would stamp that pattern into it. But since we always try to create very alive or living dials with different light reflection, we decided to actually machine each line one by one on the CNC machine. So it takes much more effort, but I think this really creates the light play you see on our dials and makes them come alive, so it's worth it. And then obviously we like to play around with different materials. So you're holding the Essence 39 malachite. Very hard material to work with, so we only release them in batches of 100 pieces per year. And yeah, it's brittle, it breaks. Our watches are fairly slim for an SW200, so we're just sitting just above 10 millimeters in thickness, which means that the dial is pretty slim as well. So when you work with stone dials, you usually have to have a brass plate underneath. And yeah, we have to do a lot of engineering to fit everything in there. And that's why we limit it to 100 pieces a year. Also exists in 43 millimeters. And then for this one, we actually were able to eliminate the brass base plate. This is a meteorite dial, and it's a world's first because we figured out that this meteorite has so much iron content that we could actually gold plate it. This is an 18-karat rose gold plating on meteorite stone. So, and you also see the date window has a bevel cut into it, straight into the stone.
That was a challenge.
That was a huge challenge and was made possible by us being able to eliminate the brass plate underneath, because We actually solder the dial feet straight onto the stone, also because there's enough iron to actually solder onto that stone.
Yeah.
These are all things that we do a lot of tinkering, and this wouldn't be possible if we didn't have a dial manufacturer.
Yeah, and keeping in mind, I mean, price on this again, like this is in a ballpark range of
$19.90 for the space gold.
Yeah, so I mean that's ridiculous for what you're getting. I mean stone dials as well for that price point. I mean this is what we're talking about. And then also just talked about the function as well. You have the on-the-fly adjustment system with the clasp, very slick. So that's something you guys are truly leaders at. Looking beyond just these dials that are also rather eccentric, then you have case materials as well that you're messing around with. So
yeah, so this is the Essence Leggera. So we had a lot of customers after the success of the Essence asking us if we're ever going to make a darker version or a black version, DLC or PVD coated. And I'm not a huge fan of doing coatings on metal, because for obvious reasons, because it will eventually scratch off, or after at least 8 to 10 years you'll see scratches with the metal shining through. And at the same time, my dad was working on a new material. He called it Dexalite. It's a carbon fiber composite. And he used it, or he developed it for clasp component materials. And then he challenged me and said, hey, how about you make a case out of this material? And it really fell in line with people asking for a black version of the Essence. And so we used it to create the case, but then since it's a carbon fiber, you can't polish it, you can't really bring a brush finish to it. So we decided to go for a ceramic bezel. So you have a ceramic bezel and a ceramic crown. This allowed us to really get this beautiful brush finish on the flat surface of the bezel that people really loved on the Essence model. And yeah, it comes with the benefit of being ultra strong, ultra light, and you forgo completely the problem of having micro scratches. As soon as you put a metal watch on, you wear it, you can be as careful as you want, you're gonna see that it's been worn. And with the Leggera, sometimes we use it as a show. We use my personal watch during shows and just put it on the display because you can't tell that it's been worn.
And this case size is?
There's a 41 millimeter and 43 as well.
Yeah, and you have to just hold this in your hand to get a sense of how light this is. This is one of the lightest watches I've ever
Yes, so it's not all carbon fiber, because since we also have the case suspension on that, the container is actually titanium. So there's a titanium container inside, held by a carbon fiber case back, and then the bezel on top in ceramic.
Wow. Now where do you want to go next? We can go reef, we could go, I have the most attainable watch that you have. So what would you prefer? I'll let you lead us here. What would you like to?
Let's talk about the feel.
Just so we don't forget about it on my wrist. So we have the starting price of the brand. Now this sits like right under $1,000, right around $1,000, right? It's right there.
Actually, $840 for the Velcro version. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This was one of the releases you've had in the last couple of years, and I think it's been well received going into the field genre, but also different case material as well. So I want to tell us a little bit more about the field.
Yeah, so the field was something I always wanted to do. So we always have to kind of find the intersection between me being a watch lover and loving to create things and a commercial perspective, as you can imagine. So we wanted to create a field watch, but we also needed something with a price point below 1,000. So we opted for a Sellita SW200 again as a mechanism, but this time it's not decorated. We have a closed case back with a very nice stamping, and it's also not chronometer certified. So this allowed us to keep this watch at a lower price point, even though it has a titanium case. So this is 150 meters water resistant with a titanium case that is completely sandblasted. And a lot of people ask, what is this material? Because we actually apply a hard coating to the outside. So
I was going to ask, because it looks like it's almost like this frosted type of look to
it. People ask if it's ceramic, if it's bioceramic, or...
Oh, yeah.
So no, it's not. It's titanium grade 2, but because titanium is known for having a very soft, being quite soft for a metal, it sits at about 145 Vickers. That hard coating we apply on the outside takes it up to 900 Vickers.
Wow.
So it really helps with the micro scratches you would typically get on a titanium watch. It's also quite light. The dial, we really wanted to go with a classic layout for a field watch, so kind of inspired by 30 dozen watches, but we've added an element that makes it look like a sandwich dial, which it isn't in reality. So it's really debossed and then hand-filled with old radium loom. Huh. And the collars on the whole field line were inspired by old industrial machinery, agricultural machinery. So the colors are quite special. It's not a green that you would find on other watches, or the red and the blue are something you don't see every day on watches.
And remind me, on the case is a 41?
This is a 40 millimeter.
40 millimeters, okay. 40 millimeter case. And then in terms of just some of the other specifications, you said sleeve movement on the inside.
We took a very modern approach for the case, so it's not your typical field watch. And also the numbers are a font that we actually designed just for this model.
It's really slick. So then we moved to the watch that I would say was next after the Essence and really establishing the brand, which is the Reef, your dive watch. So you have two different case sizes in front of us. Which one would you like to introduce us to first? Maybe you start with the larger one, because that was the original?
Yeah.
Yes, so please tell us more.
This is the Reef, our dive model, 42 millimeters in the original size. And yeah, so we just really felt like a dive watch would be a good next move after the Essence. We didn't want to, get inspired too much by all the classic dive watches out there. So we really worked on. We went for a look that shows you that it's a tool watch when you look at it from far, but when you zoom in, you'll find these little elements like very nicely mirror polished bevels. Mixed in with the brush finish that you find all throughout the case, and by the way also on the dial, the hands and the indices. So it's kind of a design philosophy that is that follows Fibonacci. So you can zoom in. The more you zoom in, you will always find the same finishing theme. So even the indices on the Reef collection, which are pretty bold. And they're actually 1 millimeter high and dive down towards the center. So we didn't have a chapter ring or a Riho on this dial, but I wanted to mimic one with the design of these indices. And then if you really zoom in, you're going to need a macro lens or a loupe for that one.
I can help with that. No
so
problem.
you're going to see a very nice brush finish on the flat surface, and then you got a diamond finish, so a mirror polish on the flanks, which you can also find on the hands. So again, you'll find it on the case, the crown even, the clasp. It's a very versatile watch. So in this one we have the Sellita SW300. We needed a thin watch because a thinner mechanism than the SW200, because this is a 300 meters diver rated watch, and it still sits only 11.4 millimeters high. So it's a very comfortable watch to wear. It sits kind of in your wrist as opposed to on your wrist, you know? Yeah. And you have the flank on the left side, on the 9 o'clock side. That is a design element. It's there for symmetry. We're really big fans of symmetry in our designs. This is why you always find the date window sitting at 6 o'clock as well. And one of the things we really wanted to incorporate in this model is a new quick release system that Dexel had come out with at the time when we developed this. So on the rubber strap, it's molded into the rubber. It's one of the thinnest systems out there, so you can put it in really thin straps as well, and you can remove the strap by simply sliding forward this pusher, and then it clicks into place. So we have this on the metal bracelet and the rubber strap. And one of the clasps that is also available on all the other watches that have a leather strap or rubber straps is the carbon fiber, the Dexelite clasp with our patented micro adjust built in. So
this is, take it off your wrist, correct?
You don't actually even have to open it. So I don't know if we're going to see this on camera, but you can show it.
We can get some close-ups.
I can show it here. So the way it works is you have it on your wrist, and if you feel like you want to tighten it up, you can just press the strap into the clasp and it will ratchet in. And then if you want to release, you press only the left pusher and it releases. So this covers exactly the distance between two holes on the strap, so 7 millimeters, and you'll always find the perfect fit.
On a deployant clasp, that's very sharp. So. And then on this class, you also have around 10 millimeters of micro adjustment within the steel bracelet, which you were one of the first brands of your size, I think, to actually utilize that, where now the industry is going crazy.
Yeah.
And then, now they're all catching up. Bezels as well. Can we talk about the bezels? Because this is one of the cool features of these watches.
Yes. So we wanted to offer the people, actually we had released a first version of the reef, and on our website we had a configurator where you could pick the dial collar, the bezel collar, and the strap. And we noticed that a lot of people put in their order and wrote us, after that they wrote us 1 email, 2 emails, changing their mind about the bezel collar. And so we figured out for the next version, we want to develop a system that allows our customers to swap out the bezel at home. And that's what we came up with. A lot of tinkering, and obviously you don't want it to come off when it shouldn't. It has to also have a good bezel action. It has to come off easily, but not too easily. So we did a lot of shock testing, all kinds of different angles to hit it with, and it can't get caught. So yeah, there was a lot of development. The ceramic bezel itself is also quite special. You have a polished, so the only way to tell the difference between the numbers and the background is actually the finishing. So you have the polished numbers and then a laser engraved background. It takes 60 minutes per bezel insert to actually engrave that on the laser.
Wow.
And yeah, so you have 4 to 5 different colors depending on the size. The reef also comes in 39 millimeters and is also chronometer certified.
I mean, the finishing is so sharp on those. And maybe we lead into our grand finale here. So we have a new debut of a watch that you're going to, first time seeing it for myself as well. Can you give us an introduction to this?
Yeah, so the new model we're talking about is the Stratos UTC. It's a pilot traveler's GMT. So it's not only a true GMT where you can set the local time quickly with the crown, but you can actually set it by, and you don't have to take it off your wrist. So you got the pushers. It kind of looks like a chronograph at first sight, but then you don't have any chronograph counters, but you have a GMT hand. So you keep your home time, you keep that, you keep track of that with the GMT hand, which is a 24-hour hand. And then your local time, you can simply adjust it when you're traveling by jumping the local time by 1 hour forward or backward.
So a pusher independent for each one of those motions.
Exactly, yeah.
When you were showing me this before, I'm trying to go set the time with the crown, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? And then you just press the pusher. It was so easy. Yeah. It's very seamless.
So it's a very nice action, and it really allows the frequent traveler to not having to take off. So you don't have to hack the second to adjust the time. So if you're keen on really keeping accurate time, so that's a really big advantage. Then you have a day and night indicator around 9 o'clock, where even that one we designed it ourselves, so you get a really nice twilight before it goes from dark to light and from light to dark. And you have the date is a hand date in this little counter at 6 o'clock. The dial also made by Cadranor. With multiple levels of finishing, so it's a multi-level dial with a grené finish on the outside. It's very pronounced, and when the light hits it at just the right angle, it looks frosted. It's kind of a frosted finish. And you got a sunburst in the center. You have syringe hands and superluminova in the numbers and the baton indices.
And then the bezel, what's that process? I mean, that's a pretty interesting bezel. It's almost like the inverse of the reef, it looks like.
It's exactly the inverse. That's what we were going for. And so this is not a ceramic bezel because we wanted to keep the numbers in metallic. Actually, we did a laser engraving again, and then it's hand-filled with colored resin. So it doesn't scratch easily as well because the resin is really between the numbers, and the numbers are brushed, circular brushed stainless steel.
So that was a new bezel concept you had to create for this watch. And then for the movement, can you explain what's going on here, like what you're utilizing? Because this is unlike what you're typically seeing nowadays.
Yes.
The first time I've seen this being utilized.
So far we've put a lot of effort, engineering and design into everything that surrounds the movement.
Yes.
So we get the best movement we can get available from Sellita, but all the effort went around the watch. And now this is the first foray into more complicated movements as well. So this is a ETA base, 2892, so equivalent to the SW300. And there's a module, so it's a custom module by Dubois Desprats. They're also in La Chaux-de-Fonds, in the cluster of movement manufacturing. And it's built on top of this ETA base, and it allows for all the functionality. So you got the quick set of the local time, you got a date, a hand date at 6 o'clock that if you happen to travel west, and you're on a night flight and you happen to jump over the 12 o'clock at night, the date will actually jump backwards again. So this is all very neat functionality, but that is not easy to achieve on a watch movement.
And then also just in terms of like the case wearability, could you give us some more of the specifications as well?
Yeah, so the case is a 41 millimeter in diameter. Because of the bezel, the dial opening is not too huge, so it doesn't wear very large. I would say it wears more like a 40 millimeter case size. Also, despite the fact that we have the module on top of the regular movement, it doesn't wear very high as well, so it's still pretty slim. We always put a lot of effort into that, which is not always easy. And Stratos, because it's a pilot watch, so that's why we chose this name, but also because the case is very multi-layered. So you have this cutout on the side that is sandblasted. It kind of mimics the frosted finish on the dial. And then you got these nice brushed flanks mixed with polished bevels that really catch the light. And by the way, at 8 o'clock you have a little pusher that is date corrector.
Great. Well, fantastic. I mean, and what's the price on these? Where are these sitting?
These are sitting at around $3,900, depending on the bracelet. They're available on the metal bracelet and leather straps.
And a few different dial colors to choose from.
Yes, so 3 dials, green, blue, and silver.
And then strap and bracelet is also available for all those configurations.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much. This has been a great introduction to the brand. I know if you're a follower of this channel, you're not probably a stranger to Formex, but I wanted to go a little deeper into understanding the brand and just your capabilities, because I think we throw a lot of brands into a lump sum of just commonality based on price, when sometimes there's something much more we have to understand. And I think with you all, what I've really appreciated and why you've stood out for me is just that there's true capabilities in your manufacturing and what you have from a proprietary standpoint that I really wanted to highlight here, and I think you were able to demonstrate that with some of these pieces. So thank you for walking us through it.
Thank you so much. We also have a lot of manufacturing at Formex, so using these sometimes more complicated system like quick releases and everything, it wouldn't be very practical to assemble the watches outside of Formex. So we also have staff for assembling, and then every single order ships directly from Biel. So yeah, that's a lot of hands on deck currently while we're growing, and it's very interesting to see how the watches come together and also be in control 100% of when there are problems, because there undoubtedly always are problems when you manufacture something so intricate with such tight tolerances. So it's really an opportunity for us to always improve our product as well.
Well, thank you so much for the time today. Appreciate the introduction. Bye, everybody.